Okay, wait, let me see where my mic is coming from. Yes, okay, perfect. Okay, all right, so we're just gonna do a review of what happened throughout the week. Best. So basically, we're just starting off with all the ones with the weekly. So NZD CAD not gonna do because we're in this giant range. AUD, NZD, same thing. Let's see what happened. And we're still in that giant range, AUD, NZD. NZD, USD, we have now broken out of this range on here. And we have a pretty strong weekly candle with the weekly bias on here. Is the daily saying the same thing? The daily is saying the same thing. So now this can come off of here. For now, let's just move this over to needs. With NZD USD, we wicked into the take profit and the new candle opened up and blasted straight through and kind of like wicked again. So that's where we opened up. Let's see what happened on the daily. The daily opened up. Is that where we opened up? Yeah, that's where we opened up. Looks like the daily pushed up, pulled back, and then went. Was there an entry? We would have been looking starting this week and 4 hour. No, we already went through, so nothing. The proper. So basically, we know that when you already hit into take profit, it won't shift on the daily properly for you to hit. So we can kind of just like take this screenshot here. So, 1 second, let me pause. Daily pullback, and we're going to analyze deeper later on, but let's just speed run through. Already checked this. Weekly and weekly, we have broken through. Next point would be here. Is the daily saying the same thing? The daily is saying the same thing. USD JPY can move as well into needs daily proper pullback. Okay. Here. Yeah, I don't know why everything's freezing. Okay, so yeah, this candle opened up and we had it for not this week. Not sure why. Let's hear why. Here we have a proper pullback. Okay, into needly is saying the same thing. USD JPY can move as well into needs daily proper pullback. Okay, here we have a proper pullback. Did it pull back to? Okay, so we did have it on there. We're just waiting for the proper daily pullback. So let's see what happened when the candle opened up. Would have been here, and we would have been looking at this week here. So daily, it opened up and just went straight to take profit. Didn't really give us an entry or anything. Yeah, it didn't give us an entry. This price kind of just broke out and next, like the 4 hour will close. Like, yeah, okay. We say it's a 4 hour accumulation of some sort. No, it's yeah. Basically, it went in the direction, so the direction was good, which means we picked the right weekly buys and trend, but it's just we didn't have a move to get in. An area of interest on the weekly. How far ago is this? This is in 2018. Not interested in that. What about what's going on here? We have one touch, two touch, three touch. Okay, we've rejected that, and the daily needs to shift structure. So I don't see the daily shift in structure and doing what it needs to do in order to go bullish because it's bearish. It would have to break above and then pull back. So we can just go daily needs SOS. Probably not going to happen. GJ, let's just wipe everything off of the charts. GJ this is a lot of sideways movement. So here, we've just broken through and now we've broken back in and I don't like that candle on there. So we're not interested in this. AUD, so yeah, it's bearish and we were at the low and we've had a rejection candle bullish, so that would mean that we can take counter trend trades, but I just don't know where we would take it to. Because this is like the weirdest counter trend ever, because it's like in this range, right? But let's see if we were to go here, start on this day. If it's gonna, if it's a counter trend, it has to be a quick pullback, which means it has to happen earlier in the week. So we started, go to the 4 hour because that's what we actually need. So the 4 hour at this time would have been bearish because we would have pulled into the week. Yeah, it's bearish, right? So we would have shifted structure here, had a proper pullback, but there was no like entry basically. And this was on Wednesday, right? So let's see. Let's go down. So it would have been blah, 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 blah. How do I use this? The replay. Okay. We would have came here. This would have been at 7 a.m. to 11. We've gone to the 2 hour, seen that the 2 hour closed against us, but it's still overall bullish. So what we're gonna do then is we need to see what happened to the 30 minute. The 30 minute is bearish. Okay, so let's see how the next 2 hour closes because we need the 30 minute to be in trend. Okay, we get an engulf then that should switch to 30 minute. Yes, okay. So now that means that we're going to be looking for this move in the second half here. Um, because we're bullish now, and that means the 5 minute will be bullish as well too. So let's go to the 5 minutes. So we're gonna wait for this to set up a move for us to take the trade in the second half here. So we're bullish. Okay. Break above. We have some sort of accumulation level. So all of this is bullish right now. So we're gonna go in on the 5 minute first before we go into the 1 minute. Oh wow, look at that. And we rejected the previous structure on here. So yeah, we've definitely done that, but we don't really have any sort of like schematic. So let's keep playing forward. Hmm. That's interesting. Because yeah, we rejected this previous structure here, but like, what is this? This is not an accumulation. Was it on the 15? No, because this would have broken structure at the top here, no? Yeah, but this isn't a structure point. So this here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so yeah, it was a 15-minute accumulation engulfing that would have been at 9:45 a.m. on Wednesday. Um, we got it off just because, yeah, we had an engulfing off of that previous structure on the 4 hour. So, yeah, USD on the weekly, we have now gone bullish. Is the daily saying the same thing? The daily is saying the same thing. We just need a proper daily pullback on here. Needs proper daily pullback. Okay, 80 CAD. We've had a deep pullback. How Yeah, so basically this didn't really do anything after that. It closed just really weak. We had a proper daily pullback. The 4 hour just never shifted in order for us to get in trend. So 4 hour broke there and then yeah, broke low. So it was bearish. We pulled, what's the daily saying first? Daily's good. Daily's pretty good. Okay, so let's see if we pulled back to some sort of area of interest. I already see something right there. All right. So, and it's had a proper pullback. So we basically, let me see what the 4 hour is saying real quick. 4 hour needs to shift, right? 4 hour needs to shift. Okay. Weekly. So this one here, it did do it, but it just didn't have to move fully. So I don't know if that's just because like the way that the weekly pulled back, because it came back to a weekly area of interest, but it just because like this candle, it just kept on going. So we came back here and then you have like one, two, three, extended four, came into this area. This is where we opened, right? So we're like, if we have, an engulfing or whatever, just as long as we're at that weekly area of interest, it's okay, right? So we go into the daily, see that the daily is still bearish. This is where the week started. This is Friday. Week started Monday. Go to the 4 hour. You can see at that time we go bearish. We come back. We get the rejection candle. This rejection candle here swept the highs and it swept the lows. So that means there's a lot of volume in that. So we're looking to get in on the first half of this. So if we go into the 5 minute here, basically, you can see that it happened. So right after the 30 minute, right after the first 30 minutes, then we get this accumulation pullback. We get the engulfing right here as well. But that's in the setup. Here you can see it goes under all these wicks. When all these wicks start to form, then we get this engulfing right here, stops above the accumulation. And because on the 4 hour, where this is, right? Like this is the 4 hour here. This is that 0.75. We have to make sure that we're take profit and when we enter this trade like from here, and let's say we have to have because we swept the highs and swept the lows, we can have a tighter stop loss because we've already taken out traders, right? So you can have a tighter stop loss, but you have to set it to the low of the 0.25 here, right? So you have to make sure that your trade, wherever you're doing it, is you're getting in and getting out by there, wherever you entered, right? So yeah, that's how AUD CAD played out. So AUD CAD, it did play out. We didn't go down to the weekly take profit all the way we wanted it to, but it did give enough for a good like 2 hour trade to pass. And then we were wondering if it's safe to enter at these 0.25. But remember, whenever you reject the 0.75 first and then you come down here, it's always a trap. They try to trap traders to get into this point. So that's why you have to take profit right there. So this would have been a nice like 4 hour, but we would have got 3 hour out of it. So that's how you catch that trade with when there's a lot of momentum. Next trade. On CAD JPY, we are at a lower low. Let's see what this candle. This is an engulfing candle. I really like that actually. What's the daily saying? The daily is okay. Daily or high, lower low. Daily's had a decent pullback, so it is good. 4 hour is good too. So this one could be the soonest. If we go weekly, looks good. Daily looks good. 4 hour Yeah, so the daily was all choppy. It actually ended up shifting structure before anything, so we didn't bother with it. If you go on the 4 hour, you can see it just came back and broke structure, and then it just kept on continuing to climb up. So that is the 4 hour. Yeah, like this is so messy. So yeah, at this part here, this was before, this was in last week. So coming down here, it just shifted, never gave us anything. I don't know, maybe it was because the way the engulfing was set up or so. It was kind of like it's this weekly is kind of choppy moving sideways. So when it's like this, we'll just leave these alone from now on. So let me pause and save that. Be the soonest if we go weekly, looks good. Daily looks good. 4 hour, lower high, lower low. We've had a pullback, looks. So I didn't even notice that like this made the low. So this is the higher high. This is the higher low. So yeah, just gotta remember that. Good. So this would be the soonest. We've had a pullback. What's the daily saying? The daily everything. We UK oil. We're at a lower low. We've had a pullback. What's the daily saying? The daily's good too. Did we pull back to any area of interest? Let's see. We've pulled back. What's going on here? We've not hit that zone. Um, it's just ugly. It would be forcing it how far is. So let's see what happened. UK oil. Um, what am I using for this? So it kinda, yeah, it was a forced area, but it seems like price reacted. The daily went bearish, and the 4 hour we would have to wait, and it shifted structure. So we got a structure shift here, and it did a pullback. So we'd be looking around like Wednesday here. Um, but we didn't really get a pullback. Like I don't think there was an entry in here because there's no rejection of previous structure until here. Breaking out there, you break out, it'd be looking, yeah, I don't. Let me see. Yeah, there's nothing. Oh, this is messy. So you need to retest internal structure, nothing. Something in here, but you'd be entering here and then it would fall down here. What time is this? 8:15 a.m. on Thursday. Retest. Yeah. 7:45 and entry 8:15. Well, we don't enter. Uh, this is such a weird one. But yeah, it was a good thing we eliminated this because of the area of interest. This is 2019 in here. Okay, yeah, we'll count F. Your NZD on the weekly. We need to erase everything. We're having pre-dip pullback. Weekly point would be right. Structure point, what's the daily saying? The daily's bullish. So the daily, okay, if we had take profit right here, this would be the closest zone, and the daily had to shift, then the daily would have to, I don't like it. I don't like it because the daily would have to shift and then pull all the way back to then have the move. Then we had already hit into TP. Not interested. US. That's exactly what happened. Oil. We're at a lower low. This is probably like the same thing, right? We've had, did we pull? Yeah, we could basically say we're at the area of interest. Yeah, okay, it's pulled back to it. The daily is good. The 4 hour needs a shift of structure. 4 hour needs a shift of structure. And never shift. And the only reason why I'm saying this is good is because like it is an engulfing candle against us, but it did come back right to here, and the daily is looking good. So if you look at an example like this is an engulfing into the area, but to see the way the engulfing formed, that low there is actually the daily low. So price would need to shift in order to break that, unlike the current one where price is already bearish, the daily's already bearish. So So that's the only reason why. Euros are on the weekly. We are having a pullback. This could be, what's the daily saying? The daily is still bullish. It'd be pullback to an area of interest. The 4 hour higher lows right here. So the 4 hour is actually bullish. So USD looks good. So USD, yeah, continue to fall to here. This was actually, don't think we could have went counter trends on here because the daily never shifted bearish for it. Exactly. AJ reset, weekly pullback. I don't like trading against that. Let me see if it pulled back to an area of interest. Pull back right here. Did it line up with any area of interest? One, two, three. Okay, yeah, we can. Wait, one, two, three, right there. Nah, I didn't pull back. I don't like it. Okay, so use the CZK. But that was good because it didn't actually pull back to the candle. It ended up blasting through. So I'm just gonna save this 1 second. Lower low, indecision, don't like it. Just because, yeah, when you get these lower lows and it's an indecision, but it's not like a strong candle, like you don't like there's no point in being interested in these to try to take it down any lower because there's really no volume in it. So we're not. Okay, so let's see. It would have been this week. We would have been looking at it. Basically closes an indecision. So starting of the week started dropping, and then the rest of the week it started pulling back up. So at the beginning of the week, on the 4 hour, broke out, wasn't with an engulfing or anything like that. So basically, there was no way to get in on this. It pulled back on here on Tuesday, and we got the rejection confirmation. So if we were looking on Tuesday, so if it was like good thing we ruled it out, right? So I think the whole thing that the fact that we took it out of our watch list because of that saved us from losing a trade. So not trading these tiny little candles here will protect you from getting in when the 4 hour has this weak pullback like it does here. As this could have potentially gotten us. So um yes. So I'm just going to document that real quick. So basically, it's just saying that don't trade these little indecision candles here because it will cause the 4 hour not to have the actual push when it needs to have when it's after it has the rejection confirmation. So 1 second. Euro PLN. All right, let's erase everything. I accidentally deleted the USD PLN. So let's see what happened. On the weekly, yeah, okay, so same thing again as the other one we just analyzed. What was it? Yeah, use the CZK just because they're all small European pairs. So you close as an indecision candle on here. At the lower low, these rocket candles on here. So even though they have, obviously they're showing selling strength on here, just because of the way it is, because there's no body to it. So it means that there is no sellers or anything like that. So we ignored that because then the daily is going to just move in the same spot and it's not going to actually create anything for the next week to even go counter trend or anything like that. So yeah, it's good to just leave these weekly indecision small body candles until next week. Thing off. Indecision at the higher high, counter trends here, not interested. USD CAD, indecision here, not interested as well. Yep, same thing. USD CAD. This is not a small European pair, but it just kind of shows like if you're trying to trade against, with these, there's no volume in that move anymore. It's exhausted. So let's see on the daily, this one you're still needing the daily to shift structure in order to go the other way as well too. So that's why you don't want to trade after these weekly candles like this because they just won't set up a down move and they won't set up a bear move. It's just an indecision candle. It's basically indecision for the whole entire next week. Well, because the daily's not going to be shifting like that when it's like this. Unless, like the daily goes this way, daily could shift. And then, but our TP would be right here. So see, it's not worth it. That's why we don't like trade in those indecision candles at the lower low like that, especially when it's a candle that's not showing like bearish rejection. Like if this was flipped upside down and it was bullish and this was a little higher, then yeah. But all of this is saying sell, but this is a sell candle, is also saying weak, and you don't want to sell with this. Like if it was this candle after, then I would have sold it like that. But yeah, and it can't be a counter trade. One second. Use the HKD, remove everything. Did it pull back to anything? See here. Boom. Nope. GBP NZD pull back. Didn't really pull back to an area of interest. This is 2015. Can't really do counter trends because we're already here. Use the MXN, add a lower low. Yeah, so basically this isn't really, apparently this is shifted. This is not shifted to me, and it closed this way. This is not saying strength or anything like that. So when it's like this, the daily is going to look weird and it's going to cause the 4 hour not to have the move. That's my thesis, right? So here, 4 hour was shifted. Like if you look, like this is a bend right there. So 4 hour did go bullish. So if you were to, like, we did get the rejection right here. We would have tried to enter after that and see if we can write it down. So I don't think there was a way to get in there. Well, there has to be a way to get in, right? So let's check after the first 30 minutes. So this was the 11 right here. Okay, so after that there, we would have had 30-minute mark. So the first 30-minute, it whipped up, and then in the rest of the candle here, it pulled back down and we got a entry engulfing right there. And basically because we got zones, well, levels from here and here for the accumulation, I just used this structure here as the stop loss. This, yeah, all of this right here. So we just put it right above that. And this, if we are, let me just go in replay mode real quick. So I guess just the way that it broke with the doji like that, that it didn't count as a 4 hour break. That's something to note maybe. And because this is 0.75 pullback, if it didn't break, then we have to make sure that we're targeting here at least, because we're not going to get the full weekly target. So target in there, we're gonna make sure our stop loss was to that. Yeah, this would have been, yeah, just the whole thing was just set up like just not nicely. And then this I couldn't enter here because obviously it was a, see, that's the thing, like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like you get that. Let's see what happens. That's like, because that's a schematic violation because we did tap into the 0.75, right? See, that's why it didn't, like this went to 0.23. This didn't even make it to that because that's what happens when you get in too low. You see, yes, we definitely tapped into there, which means you can't enter when it comes back to this point. So because you did that, that's why this only went to that. This entry was much higher. So once you hit that 2R, like it's time to skedaddle out. It barely gave that because this is a reversal zone right here. Hello, what's the daily saying? The daily's on. So use the MXN Weekly didn't cause a weak engulfing breakout there, so just at a lower low. So you're just looking for a wick pullback continuation down to there. And what's the 4 hour saying? The 4 hour needs a proper 4 hour pullback. And USD NOK. Oh, look at that. So this move, yeah, it started off and then it just kind of blasted off. So let's see what happened. This went exactly where we wanted it to. The daily had a 2 candle pullback. I just wasn't a fan of that pullback. Like, what is this? I don't even know what's going on. If we go to the 4 hour, you can see that the 4 hour, when the week started, it pulled back, but then it broke structure. So there was no way for us to get in there. And then it kind of came in and it pulled back here. But how would we even get in here? Because there wasn't a rejection confirmation that we could get in on. So let's go. So bullish, bullish. We would have gone bearish here. Now we did get an engulf in there at 9 or at 11:55, but this wasn't really an accumulation because there wasn't 4 wicks. There was only 3 wicks there. So maybe if we scale up, you can see that the 15-minute it's bullish. It doesn't go, all of this is bullish. So I don't see a way how to enter this. So yeah, it made the move basically, but there just wasn't an entry for us. On the weekly, we're basically at the lower low. Where is the next point? Because we didn't even break that. Not interested because we're already right there and it's not doing anything. Euro, so there. Basically, it kind of just broke structure, pulled back. Like it didn't really do anything because this is bullish. We can't enter on this. So because yeah, just how the weekly is, we're just right to take profit there. It just caused everything. We're just in heavy accumulation. We just want to break out of all of this before we even worry about anything. So we'll wait until we break out of that before we're even looking at anything. AUD at a higher high. Rejection to the downside. What's the daily saying? The daily is not going to shift and do anything. So because the daily was so high up and it wasn't going to shift, um, right? It's so high up, I know it wasn't going to shift, so I knew there wasn't going to be any move. So weekly, that didn't really do anything. Let me take off replay mode. So it was like that. Let's see what happened throughout the week. It just stayed. Yeah, it didn't do anything. And daily is not counter trend, so we can't sell it or anything. Daily is not going to shift and do anything. And it didn't pull back to an area of interest, so we're not interested in this. GA weekly is at a higher high, didn't pull back to anything. Oh, yeah, it didn't pull back to anything. And what's the daily saying? The daily would need to shift. Where would it be? And then first, we go first. Weekly point would be right here first or there. That's what I would do. Okay, and then the daily would already be right there, not interested. Silver. So because yeah, because of where the take profit is, by the time the daily actually shifted, we'd already be there. So not interested. Good thing we left it alone, as well too, because the weekly bias was saying previous weekly bias is bullish, right? So this is saying buy, but we're not at a weekly area of interest to buy off of. So it's yeah, counter trends wouldn't have been possible. That's why everything just closed as indecision next week because this week was saying buy, but buys weren't possible because we weren't at a weekly area of interest to do it. So next week just closed as an indecision. So I'm just gonna document that. Okay, so basically silver, this was the TP on here because it's bearish. We pulled back, but there wasn't an area of interest. You basically be trying to force an area of interest if you're trying to make it work because this is the bottom here. This is another one like that. That area of interest is just too thick. So it's kind of like forcing it. If it was like that and this came into there, then it would make more sense because it's just a tighter area of interest. The tighter the area of the interest, the better. The thicker and the more you have to do to make it work, then the more weak it is. Weekly needs to be, okay, weekly is bearish, had a pullback. Um, we're not really reacting off a weekly area of interest. Like this is, yeah, not interested. GA, yeah, if we're trying to go bullish, the daily's not doing that. The daily would have to shift and then do that. So shift and then pull back and then go. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday. It's probably not going to happen, but we can just put this needs a daily shift. Okay, GU. Okay, so let's see what happened then. So it had pulled back. Did we react off? It's not really the cleanest weekly area of interest, so that's why I didn't like the reaction. Now the weekly is in at 2 with a doji, so we're definitely not trading now. Let me just mark that up. But the daily, what ended up happening is the daily never shifted. So it seems like if the daily needs to shift and it's kind of far off that it won't really happen this week. So let me just document that real quick. GU weekly at a higher high. What's the daily saying? Everything is saying 4 hour is going to need a proper pullback. Weekly TP. GU 4 hour needs a proper pullback. Okay, so let's see. The weekly was good, but the 4 hour just never had the pullback. Monday, which would be here. So price basically just ripped right off the bat, like Friday, Monday. Yeah, there was basically no entry because the daily, well, the daily's going to need a proper pullback, actually. Daily needs a proper pullback. Weekly, really never had that. This has to be gold, yeah. Good old gold. One day. Okay, weekly pullback. What's the daily saying? The daily is good. Daily needs a proper pullback. Yeah, because it's just the way it's set up. Like the weekly is good for a weekly with pullback. So you could do it on the 4 hour. This is the 4 hour range, but the 4 hour is gonna have to pull back, so the daily is gonna need a proper pullback. So that's why I'm saying the day. So the daily had the proper pullback the next day, but it actually ended up breaking structure. So we weren't interested in that. Daily needs a proper pullback before it can do anything. Um, use the NZD. Yeah, that was basically just saying, yeah, yeah, daily needed a proper pullback. So let's see the weekly, and then now we're having this crazy rejection like this, and we don't trade it when it's basically ripping up like that. I have it somewhere in my notes. Let me see. Not that basically GCAD on the weekly. Yeah. So no, this is post out. This is what's probably gonna happen. Like you'll have an indecision after. Um, where is it? Yes, here it is. What I didn't write down a pair. Great. Oh yeah, it's AUDJPY. So all right, so yeah, you get this massive rejection candle, which is this. So basically the trend is going down, but the previous weekly bias is now saying to go up. Um, so we don't trade after that, basically, because just basically right here, rejection candle very strong. In fact, it means the daily will probably shift against the trend, and all 5 days it won't stop pushing. So we're expecting it to keep pushing back and just break in the daily right here. So usually when that happens, like it'll just continue to just push up like this and then just break the lily because it needs a deeper pullback. So it's probably going to pull back deeper to an area of interest, which will be first area of interest is here. However, all the way in 2021, it would be cleaner to do this. This would make more sense. So yeah, we just got to wait for it to have a deeper pullback. So if it pulls back all the way to there, yeah, the daily's going to shift. So that's why we don't like trading after these indecisions. So I'm just going to log this again. reset everything. Weekly's at a higher high. If it's a weekly wick pullback, the take profit would already been right here. So for that reason, we're not interested in it. Use the JP. So yeah, we already hit the weekly take profit, and the next week basically just kind of rejected right there. So there wouldn't have been an entry. The daily kind of just consolidated at that, and we're at the TP the whole time, so we couldn't really do anything. And the 4 hour never ended up pulling back properly to give us an entry. So when price is already at the weekly TP like that, the next week is probably just going to wick into that and continue to reject that. So let me document that as well. Right here. So for that reason, we're not interested in it. Use the JPY, take profit for a weekly wick pullback would be right here. And we have broken through. We have a nice candle. What's the daily saying? Daily's good. Daily and the 4 hour is gonna need a deeper pullback. Well, the 4 hour is currently bullish, so the 4 hour would need to shift. So 4 hour is key, and 4 hours gets a daily saying daily's good. Daily and 4 hours gonna need a deeper pullback. Well, the 4 hour is currently bullish, so the 4 hour would need to shift. So 4 hour needs to shift structure for sure. Simple like that, and then go. Okay, so let's see. Basically, let me just get rid of this because we already broke through this area here. So on the daily, basically we started off, yeah, perfect. And then we'll just mark off where it started. So the daily, basically, yeah, it just pushed right into profit when the week started up. So the week started up right here and it just went straight. So basically, yeah, the week started up here and then right when it started, it went straight down, straight down. So we've seen this before, like where it kind of just does that. This was Yeah, not bad. Now it's going to be counter trend, which the weekly take profit would be here because if you do the box trick from where we are, you can see that the next point we stop at is right here. So, and then you just need the daily to be in trend. So the daily is not in trend, nor is it going to be in trend basically, because the daily needs to have a shift of structure and then go. That's probably not going to happen this week because when the daily, well, at least for pro trend trades, when the daily needs to have a shift of structure before going, it never happens that week usually, unless it's very, very close to it. So I'm pretty much seeing that this is not going to have the pullback and then the break and then the pullback and then the go. Well, yes. So you need a break, pullback, and then have a 4 hour pullback to then go. So I don't see that, 1 day, 2 day pullback and then go. This would have to, yeah, I don't see it happening, but we can remember that. 4 hour needs to shift. Weekly's higher high, daily say, weekly's at a higher high, daily saying the same thing. Daily, I would honestly just wait for the daily to, yeah, wait for the daily to break out of all of this accumulation, have a 4 hour pullback, and then go. So the daily, it had basically a breakout. Not the cleanest, well, not the strongest. So basically, we go on the weekly on here. This is where we're starting. The daily, yes, we had a breakout. It's have to be this Monday here. Okay, we had a breakout, then we had a 4 hour pullback, but the 4 hour ended up breaking structure. So when the 4 hour pullback, it just wasn't in trend. So we weren't able to get that. So basically now, you need, yeah, basically there's an accumulation there on the 4 hour. We'll wait for a break and then we'll go. But it's also at, I know we shouldn't be doing analysis because we're trying to keep this video short here. Didn't break above that. So it's actually a weak candle and we're within all this resistance. So this pair here, like we're not even going to be looking at it for this week. The daily needs to, say the daily needs a shift of structure first. And we already did this. Euro. So yeah, that was a good thing that we waited for the daily to have a shift of structure first, because when it broke above, Monday was right here. And Yeah, we broke above right here and then we just like pull back. It just didn't set up properly. HUF weekly, remove everything first. Weekly, daily looks good with a proper pullback as well too. 4 hour definitely needs to shift. So weekly, yeah, we were bullish. The candle was against us, so we wouldn't even be looking to take that trade. Um, So, which was a good thing because as you can see, like the price, oh no, we're actually bearish because price never shifted structure, but there's no area of interest on the weekly. Let me see. We'd pull back to here, right? So there would have been this. You know what? There is an area of interest on there. Weekly, daily looks good with a proper pullback as well too. 4 hour HUF week. So I don't know why I would have been looking for, oh yeah. Well, what? Why does it look like it shifted there, but it didn't shift here? See that? Weekly remove. Weekly definitely shifted there, but then now I think what's going on is this on FCM, FMC. There we go. Yeah, see the difference? Like FCXM or FXCM. They didn't show the break in there. So we have the break. Price had pulled back. Yes, this is an area of interest on here, but we were going bullish. So we shouldn't have this area of interest on here. We would actually be looking for a wick pullback continuation. However, we didn't really react off of a weekly area of interest or anything like that. So it didn't make sense to, like, we would have, yeah, and then we have this. So we can't go buys because we have this candle closing against us. Now we still have it closing against us. And we didn't really have a proper pullback. Let me see. Yeah, it didn't even pull back to an area of interest. So we're going to be leaving this one until next week anyways. Move everything first. Weekly, daily looks good with a proper pullback as well too. 4 hour, definitely. Yeah, so basically we just chalk it up to weekly having a, like the weekly previous bias was bearish, but the weekly trend is bullish. So this is conflicting confluences basically. The weekly bias is not matching the weekly trend. So we have weekly, um, like the weekly is against itself basically. So let me just document that. Daily would need to shift. Let me see, let me double check. Because we can't do counter trend trades. So we need to do pro trend trades and pull back to an area of interest. So yeah, daily needs to shift. Okay. Yeah, so the daily needed to shift and basically we would needed it to break below, then break above and then go. So that was a pro trend trade. So it honestly seems like with the pro trend trades, if they need a daily shift to structure, it's not going to happen this week usually most of the time because this was very close to like when the week started on Monday. We basically just needed a couple candles just to break below and then break above and then pull back and then go. So it honestly seems like if the if the daily needs a shift to structure, um, then it's probably not going to happen this week. So let me document that part as well too, because it's been very rare if I like when I've seen it have a daily shift to structure and have the move this week. So let me pause that so I can document that. All right, so we've pulled back to an area of interest with a rejection candle. What's the daily saying? The daily is bearish as well too. What's the 4 hour saying? The 4 hour is bullish. Yeah. Yeah, 4 hours bullish, so the 4 hour needs to shift the structure. Needs 4 hour SOS. Well, I feel like we did this. Okay, never mind. CHF yeah, daily had and 4 hour needs SOS. Okay, so basically, yeah, when the daily's this messy, we're not even going to bother with it because as you can see, it just stayed in the same spot. So let me just document that real quick. Add proper pullback. Daily looks good. 4 hour needs SOS. Okay. So yeah, the weekly had a proper pullback to this area on here, and the daily was also good because the daily was bearish. The 4 hour needed a shift to structure. Let me just clean all of this. 4 hour needed a shift to structure. So let me just see. We started in this week. I might honestly not even draw the area of interest on here anymore because it's so distracting. Like I know where we are, so it doesn't really need to have that on there. Price broke to the bearish side on here. We had a proper pullback. We had this rejection on here. Let me just see something. Replay. How do I bar? Yeah, so basically this is what we're looking at. It had a nice deep pullback. Oh yeah, I remember this. I actually tried to enter this or when we got this candle here because I was like, oh, this is a rejection candle. And then I got smacked and then price ended up dropping down after. So I have to remember to just wait for that rejection confirmation. Basically, the last 2 hour candle is going to close in a bearish direction, shift into 30-minute. That's how we know that it's ready. So like, for example, we'd be looking here, right? So you would go, basically, we just want to see how the first 2 hour closes on here. So that's the first 2 hour. This is the second 2 hour. So let's see what the 2 hour does. So it closes like that, but what happened with the 30-minute? As you can see, the 30-minute is bullish, right? So we can't do anything until the 30-minute actually shifts structure. So that's how we could know that we can avoid this pair because I wasn't sure if this was a rejection candle or not, like because it exhausts it so much. But you have to look at the 2 hour to see the 2 hour closed to know that the 2 hours shifted to 30 minutes. So since it didn't shift to 30 minutes, we would know that there wouldn't be any entry because then the 15-minute, right? Like it wouldn't have shifted as well too. So keep an eye on the 30-minute. And then here you can see the 30-minute has shifted back bullish. So now the 15-minute will now be bullish. Um, so now that we're in trend, the 15-minute is bullish. Uh, this is 7:37 right here. So we would have been out of session. So basically we would have waited because yeah, we're looking for a bearish trend, right? So this would be the start of the 7 a.m. candle on here, right? So basically we just want it to we go from 7 to 9. Yeah. Okay, so that would be the next 2 hours. So what we're gonna do is just split it up like that. Um, okay, so we need the 2 hour to basically go bearish so that we can have the 30-minute shift. Nothing, 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 nothing. So this is in here now. We would go to the 2 hour. You would see the 2 hour here having a bearish rejection. So because the 2 hour is having a bearish rejection, we just need to see the 30-minute will shift because if the 30-minute doesn't shift, we can't do anything. So the 30-minute is still bullish. It had a giant engulfing candle right there. Okay, so the 30-minute shifted now, right? So then when there's a pullback, you wait the first 30 minutes out for price to set up. And then it should give you an entry somewhere after that 30 minutes because everything will be in trend now. So as you can see, after the first 30-minute, now that we had price shift bearish, the 2 hours shifted bearish. So because the 2 hours shifted bearish, well, the 2 hour was always bearish, but it shifted structure, which when it does that, it causes the 30-minute to shift, which is the important part. Once the 30-minute shift, it unlocks all the lower time frames. So now the 15-minute is bearish as well. So you can see the 15 minutes having a proper pullback. Um, Then you go down to the 5 minute after that, you can see that there's all this internal structure on here. So we had a proper retest here. We would go engulfing, but that's like out of sessions. I'm not really interested in that. But I noticed within this first 30 minutes here, you can see price causing all this wick. So when it's causing all that wick, you just wait for price to break, retest, and have an engulfing. You can see it cleaner on the 1 minute. You can see that we're having bullish, we go bearish, all this chop, then we go bullish. There is an entry somewhere around here. All this accumulation, basically right here, you just wait, price engulfs right there, right after the 30-minute period, so 11:40, and you just put your stops above here, and that's how you would catch that. One thing to note is that you always have to be like, you have to get out when you get to this bottom on here. This is why you don't enter at the 0.25 after you've tapped into the 0.75. So 0.75, you've tapped into here, down to the 0.25, you have to get out before price gets there. And basically price just ends up bleeding through. I think this one would have taken like 6 hours or so. So right here, this was up 2R anyway, so you would have taken that. And then, yeah, basically right there, price hit TP. So yeah, that was good. Main things to take away is waiting for that 4 hour rejection confirmation and then waiting 30 minutes after for price to set up. And then we're just gonna double check, make sure these ones that we did analyze them properly. Proper pullback, daily's good, 4 hour needs SOS. Same thing. And yep, okay, perfect. Yes, okay. And what's going on here? This is pro trend. So daily definitely needs a proper pullback first before. Okay, pro trend at a lower low, lots of bearish pressure on there. USD SEK, USD SEK. Okay, Oanda. So weekly, yeah, you can see weekly wicked into take profit. So basically we started off the week there, the daily, kind of just pushed right into take profit right off the bat. So that's what I've been noticing is sometimes like when the week starts off, it'll just push right into take profit right away and you can't do anything about that. Now it's having a proper pullback. It's shifted. Now the weekly's at a lower low with an indecision candle. You would just start from where you are, do the box trick. You can see the next structure point is right here. So you would need the daily to shift before it actually gets there. And the daily currently is bearish. So the daily needs to shift bullish before it gets there. It's usually not going to do it in this week, what we've learned, because it needs to break a load and go like that. So usually when it needs a daily shift to structure, then it's usually not going to happen this week. It's a trend this time. Here, this is pro trend. So daily definitely needs a proper pullback first before we do anything. Pro trend, same thing. Although we did get this daily breakout on here. So what I would say then just needs a proper, so because it's a daily accumulation breakout with a weekly trend, so we're pro trend, we just need the 4 hour to have a proper pullback. So okay, so yeah, it was pro trend. This wasn't a daily breakout because the thing is like in order for it to be a daily breakout, we need to enter basically after the first candle that breaks out. You can't enter on the second candle or the third candle. It has to be the first strong candle that breaks out, and you can catch the 4 hour wick pullback and go. So this didn't really do anything. So basically we had started the week here. The 4 hour at the time needed a proper pullback. It ended up shifting structure. Later on during the week, we had another pullback. So one thing, well, it wasn't, well, okay. So here, this is something that I've been noticing. So we had a lower low indecision, right? So we have this candle here with this indecision. So we're expecting price to make a pullback, right? But if price doesn't pull back, then usually what happens is, well, this wasn't an engulfing breakout. This was the engulfing breakout right here. So because of that, you'd be looking for a quick pullback and then drop. Basically, if you go here, you'd be looking for price to, because it's an engulfing breakout, right? Like you have this even and star engulfing pattern and it broke this low. So basically what would happen after that, since we broke that low, is you'd be looking for, on the 4 hour, you'd be looking for, well, actually, let me show you something. You go previous structure. So we'll just name this, right? 4 PS, let me just put this to the left and put this to the bottom so it's easier to see. So you'd be looking for price to pull back on the next 4 hours, tap into that, give the entry signal with a 5 minute or 50 minute engulfing to then take it lower, right? So let's go. this is in trend, 15 minutes in trend, right? So then 15 minutes in trend, we know the 5 minute will be in trend. So we go to the 5 minute on here. We're having the retest and we're just waiting for the engulfing. Boom, we have the engulfing. It's retesting the 4 hour previous structure. So this is only all possible because of that 4 hour breakout engulfing, right? And then you go here, put your stops above the structure. Okay, and then a nice 3R. So yeah, that's just like I said, it's because the 4 hour had an engulfing breakout. Every time you have it, like here, we didn't have an engulfing breakout. This didn't count, so you can't really get in on the wick. But every time you have an engulfing breakout, like right here as well too, so price causing like price was gonna make a 4 hour pullback, but ended up engulfing breakout instead, right? So what you do is you go from the base of that, and then when you break out, you wait, the 4 hour will come back, and then you'll get a 5 minute or 15 minute engulf, and that's in trend right here. And then you just ride it down to there. That's the continuation. So I actually have to record this real quick. First point will be the here one. These should be an active trade. Oh, okay. Go back and yeah, and
See
all
what's
Euro
going on here.
USD,
These
all
already wicked in
active.
to take profit. So yeah, this was an active trade. I'm just gonna leave this there. Weekly, we are at a lower low. What's the daily saying? The daily saying the same thing. And what's the 4 hour saying?
Okay, yeah. So as you can see, the weekly bunch of small candles rejected in this area like this. So when it's like this, it means it's consolidating. It's not worth trading, and then you just gotta wait until the weekly breaks out. So, and then like I said before, when it's like this, when it's like this and creating all of these like wicks like this in the area, you can see wicks here, wicks here, wicks here, wicks here. That means the daily's gonna look rubbish. So you go to the daily's basically gonna be moving sideways. So this is not, you don't want to trade this. You want to wait for the daily. Basically, it's created an accumulation now. So you want to wait for the daily to have a breakout below that, and then you can continue it lower if that's the trend that we're aiming. Yeah, we're aiming bearish. So as long as it stays bearish, we just got to wait for it to break below. So we're going to wait for the daily basically to have something like this, like breakout, like just create a nice range. So there's no movement in here right now, so we just gotta wait. The 4 hours saying the same thing, right? This needed the accumulation break retest, right? So we've already went, yeah, we're good. So basically we're not gonna take one here because we already got a rejection here. We're just gonna wait for this to pull up a little deeper, and then we can look to take it down because it's already in trend. So basically like it doesn't even have to so yeah. Let's see what's going on here. Weekly, we had a pullback. Daily's cool. 4 hour is cool. So after, let's see, it's Sunday, 11 p.m. That's when we're good. 11 p.m. That's when we're good. We can take trades after that. And yeah, these ones, I'm just waiting for them. Yeah, okay. So the 4 hour just never shifted on here. Like if we're going, we start at Monday right here. Wait, let me make sure we're in trend. Yes. So this was the Monday right here. Yeah, and was bullish. And then on the 4 hour was bearish. So we're waiting for the 4 hour. 4 hour finally shifted back. There we go. We're bearish, but we're looking to be bullish. It finally shifted back here. We're waiting for a proper pullback. So it had a proper pullback on the daily, right? So we're looking to take this up. The only thing is, like I said, like, okay, so we're 4 hour, right? It's 0.75, 0.25. We have to look for the entry here. So we need a rejection here to then take it up. So let's see. We need basically, oh, this is the weekly closing. Yeah, so we just never got the, well, let's see. If this is Friday, this is Wednesday, Tuesday. Yes, right here. So we had shifted right here. Once it shifted, we had a 4 hour pullback. Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. So what I see with this one right here is, yeah, so it wasn't an engulfing that shifted structure or anything. We had a pullback. It was a one candle pullback. We got the rejection right here. So we'd be looking for an entry to take this up. So I can show you that. But one thing to notice here is also an engulfing candle. So this is a Morningstar engulfing breakout on here. So basically we would wait for price to have the retest, which was that red candle there. We would retest this 4-hour previous structure right here. So we would go, let's just put this to the left. So it's easier to see like that. All right. Okay, so yeah, basically price broke out, then we'd be waiting because this is the continuation. We had an engulfing breakout. Wait for price to retest this, get an engulfing on the 15 or 5 minute, and then you can take it up there. So let's go down. We broke out, retested, and on here on the 15 minute, you wouldn't like that. But if you go to the 5 minute, you can see, okay, so we're still bullish, but we haven't gotten an engulfing or anything on there. Nothing. Boom. And nothing still. Broke through. 15 minute is now bearish. So we need the 15 minute to go bullish before we can do anything. 15 minute goes bullish right there. Okay, we get a test. Now we just need a second candle to create the engulfing maybe. Boom, right there. So now we have the break and retest. Let me move this over to the right so it's easier to see. Now we have, so it's a 4-hour continuation. We have the break and retest with an engulfing. We have the 15-minute in trend. We have the break and engulfing on there. When the 15-minute went in trend on here, we could actually went down to the, oh, this was actually the 5 minutes, not the 15-minute. You can see the 15-minute had the engulfing there as well too. And it is still bullish, so we could have either entered here, which would have been at 5:45, or on the 5 minute, whichever, right? And then you just go. The only thing with this is if you enter on this, you don't really have, well, yeah, you don't. Oh, we went bullish. This was the lower high on here. So yeah, we went bullish. It's the lower high. Perfect. Okay, yeah. So we could have entered there. Stops could have been right here. And then you add, well, you put it below this wick here, and then you add, because this is USD ZAR and the pips. See how the pips are moving like that? It's like very crazy. Well, it's not pips, I think it's points. So you just add 50 onto these exotic. This in your HKD, I just add 50. So basically like that. And then you just wait. Then you would have hit 2R on there. This was another entry on here because we got an engulfing, rejecting this 4-hour neckline. And do we get a 3R? What happened? USD ZAR. USD ZAR. 3R. Perfect. So basically that would have took like 18 hours. So yeah, about 20 hours or so is usually when my trades take to play out, about 2 days or so. So yeah, that's how you catch that continuation, and the rest was it. So that's my post-weekly analysis of last week.